this car is completely different. What up, folks? You're watching Toprank Global channel, and today I'm going to introduce you to this R34 Skyline 25 GT-T for you guys today. I'm going to talk in depth and why I like this R34 GT-T compared to some other models. And yeah, enjoy today's video. So let's start talking about the exterior of this particular vehicle. So R34 GT-T has a completely different fascia over with the R34 GTR. But this car in particular has a R34 GTR OEM alloy hood. So the hood extends to almost closer to the bumper, whereas the R34 GT-T hood, which is made out of alloy, is end up till right here, on over to the front grille of the bumper. So this car has a GTR Nismo style bumper as well as this awesome hood. So now let's talk about the side profile of R34 Skyline 25 GT-T. Starting from the wheels. The wheels, this car has a 18-inch work wheels, but the original wheels that came with are the 17s. And for the GT-T models, we have a front 4-piston brake calipers. The side, which you could see, this is the R34 GTR style side skirts with a Nismo style rear under pads. The most pinnacle differences between the R34 GTR and the GT-T is this nicely thin fenders. These fenders are what people so-called a narrow R34 Skyline fenders. And some people put over fenders, but in my taste, I really like how this shaped, and it looks very nice like as is. So now the rear of this car, starting from the wing, this is the R34 GTR wing. So basically the shape of this compared to the OEM R34 GT-T wing is a little bit different, as well as these taillights. This taillight inner side is aftermarket ones, but this shape is completely coupe original. R34 GT-Ts came with a different shape rear bumper. This particular car has a R34 GTR style rear bumper, which this shape is a little bit different compared to the GT-T. And the most noticeable difference between the GTR and the GT-T is actually this part right here. For the GT-Ts, as long as if you not option out a rear fog light package, this car will have a double reverse light, whereas R34 GTR will have a right side as a rear fog light and left side as a backup light. So now you guys are all been waiting for. Let's check out underneath of the hood. As you guys can tell, R34 GT-T is a little bit different for R34 GTR, but this is the main part that is really different. So this is RB25DET Neo. And what is different from the original RB25DET is the Neo has a upgraded heads as well as different pistons, and it makes 280 horsepower compared to 250, which is the base or pre-Neo RB25s. And RB25 most noticeable part is actually the NVCS, which is the variable valve timing system that only came with RB25. So the intake part is variable valve. So what that means, it has more lower in torque compared to the RB25, which doesn't have a non-variable valve timing. Now I'm going to talk about the turbos of this RB25 Neo. What I mean that is basically the Koki model, in which Koki 5-speed manual transmission cars with turbos came with a different style turbos compared to the Zenki, which is the first iteration R34 25 GT-Ts. And the turbo blades are a little bit slightly more upgraded. Thus, this power is still on a 280 horsepower, but once you tune it, this turbo can generate a little bit more horsepower compared to the Zenki turbos. May I come in? All right, let's talk about the interior of the R34 25 GT-T. This car in particular is a Koki model, so the interior fabrics such as the inserts and the outer skin is completely different from the Zenki models. And in my personal opinion, I think this looks more cleaner, good looking interior. So starting from this here, this is the 3-pot gauge pod, which has a turbo boost pressure, oil temperature, and the left is a voltmeter. And the cluster color is slightly different from the Zenki models, which base is the black with orange lighting, compared to this one is silverish whitish color with a orange lighting. And the center part basically the same as all the R34 GTR all across the line, but this car in particular has a Koki color silver titanium style inserts right here. And the steering wheel, this steering wheel is actually basically the same diameter as a R34 GTR. R34 GT-T Koki has a Skyline emblem, but this car in particular has the Nissan, which is the base Zenki airbag system. So now I'm going to talk about the back seat. All right, going from the driver's side is actually not that bad. So this is currently my position, and if I put it back where I sit, actually I don't have a good amount of headroom. Well, because it's a coupe, I don't have enough headroom, but the legroom itself is actually not that cramped. You could see 3 people in the back seat for the GT-Ts, whereas the GTR has a big hump right around the center, so they only can sit 2. But for a pinch, you can sit 3. Basically, I'm like 176 centimeters, which is about 5'10", 5'11". So for that, I can kind of sit like this in a pinch, which is not I guess a very comfortable position because I'm hitting my head right here on a headliner. But if I sit here, which is basically most of the people will sit, it's actually not that bad. Very practical. Okay, so let's start the driving impression that you guys have been waiting for. And immediately, like whenever you sit in this car, the front of the gauges looks so sporty that you don't see this kind of like very classical but yet readable gauges that really makes you want to drive. Especially the boost gauge right here, this really makes it like kind of tunery feel, which is like very awesome. And immediately this car has a HKS exhaust. It makes the car sound really aggressive. Let's give it some little bit of pulls. Yeah, baby. This RB25, I think in my opinion, makes more higher pitch noise than RB26. This car feels light and nimble, and whenever I take this car onto like mountain roads and stuff, this car is hands down moves more quicker and more, I guess, driver engaging than the R34 GTR. For like a GTR 4-wheel drive system, it's feels stable on a highway speeds, but this car is completely different. This car is meant to drive around and have fun of rear-wheel drive happiness that this car can give you. In my opinion, R34 GT-T is a very nimble car, and it's completely different character to the GTR. People do often compare this car to GTR, whether or not because it's an R34, but in my opinion, it is a completely different car and gives you a completely different environment. Even though most of the parts look very similar to the GTR, the GT-T has its own quirks in a good way and more fun and engagement in some aspects. Of course, GTR sometimes it's a king of the R34, but that doesn't mean this car isn't worthy of getting it. And I think this car, if you can put a lot of miles, no problem. And most importantly, this car has a vast majority of aftermarket parts. You can make it look like a GTR, or you can have it in your own way, customizing this kind of vehicle. And because it's a rear-wheel drive, you can drift around compared to the R34, which is the rear-wheel drive based all-wheel drive system. So yeah, in my opinion, R34 GT-T is actually quite significantly different from the GTR. Sure, you guys wanted the GTR because it's in a king of R34, but GT-T is a very fun car to drive, and most importantly, it's a very tunable car. You can make it to look like a GTR, like this car, or you can make it in your own way. And because it's a rear-wheel drive, it is more fun and engaging to drive around in streets, and especially with this RB25DT Neo, which has more lower end torque. Thus, it's a very, very fun car to drive around. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out and mata ne! Bye bye!
Yeah, when I blow up, I'ma soar high like Peter Pan. In real life, be living all my dreams. If I'm waking up, it's in a foreign land. Whole wrist covered up in ice. Dealership, never asked the price. I hit the molly ball.